Welcome back to another video. In this one, we're actually going to be sitting down with Jeff Gustafson, aka Gussy, one of the absolute best smallmouth bass anglers anywhere in the country, or either country I should say, because he's from up in Canada. And he's going to be sharing a bunch of great smallmouth bass tips that'll help you catch more fish this season. So first things first, we asked him about some of the differences that he sees in smallmouth bass behavior and how he catches them when he's fishing in all these different fisheries, you know, from the far east all the way back home in Kenora, Ontario area.
All the different places that I do get to fish for smallmouths, it's awesome to get to go to all the different places. There's so many good smallmouth fisheries right now across, you know, the smallmouth belt up north. A lot of differences though in the different waters of body that I go to. So like you go to the Great Lakes, obviously they eat a lot of gobies. They're keyed in on the bottom. Gobies stick pretty close to the bottom. So you're gonna fish a lot more bottom baits. You go to a place like Champlain, a lot of pelagic bait fish. There's a lot of fish out in open water chasing bait around. And come back home to Lake of the Woods and Rainy Lake, where I fish a lot, really good fishing. We can catch fish doing both. On the bottom, we have a lot of crayfish in both of those places, but also a lot of pelagic bait fish. But the smallmouths always relate to something, some sort of cover, structure. It could, often rock. No matter where you go, if you find rock, you're usually going to find some smallmouths. But there's times, the weather gets hot and sunny and nice. They like to get in the weeds as well. And you gotta keep your options open. Try never to get, just set on one thing, and let the fish tell you where they are.
All right, next up, we asked Gussy if he could choose one way to target smallmouth bass. What would it be?
I love to catch smallmouths however they want to bite, but my absolute favorite has to be the Smeltnator with a minnow bait on it, just because it's something that I've done for a long time growing up. Obviously, I've had some success with the Smeltnator before. I have it tied on all over the country for both largemouths and smallmouths, really, but across the smallmouth belt, I've caught big ones on it at Lake Champlain, Lake Ontario, Lake St. Clair, Rainy Lake, Lake of the Woods where I live. It's just a deadly bait, deadly jig, and something that everyone should have in their tackle box.
Now, Gussy's fished for smallmouth bass just about everywhere they swim, from the north to the south, east to the west. So he's seen just about everything, and he's seen a lot of anglers out in the water. So we asked him if there was one big misconception, one big mistake that he sees anglers making when they're targeting smallmouth bass throughout the year, and this was his answer.
One of the biggest misconceptions that anglers have about smallmouths is that when it's sunny and nice and beautiful, those calm days that we kind of dream about, up north, you can expect to find a lot of big fish shallow. And this goes all summer long, and it's on the Great Lakes. It's at places like Lake Champlain. It happens around home. It happens in Minnesota. You get those nice sunny days. A lot of anglers think that you got to fish deeper, get out in deeper water, but they like the sun, and our season's short up north, so they like those hot days. And I think one of the things that happens is a lot more crayfish get out crawling around on the rocks, and that's one of their favorite things to eat everywhere. And but yeah, if it's sunny and nice, don't be afraid to look up shallow, and get your sunglasses on and just, go for a look.
Now, as awesome as smallmouth bass are, and as aggressive as they can be, it's not always a cakewalk every time. Sometimes you have those tough bites. So the next thing we asked Gussy about is if he had any advice for folks that were chasing smallmouth when the bite was maybe a little bit tougher.
If you're ever out in smallmouth country and finding the bite to be tough, like one of those, where do I look, where do I go next? I've been there plenty of times. One thing that's often overlooked is current. And, if you're in a river situation, obviously current's easy to find, but look for those, the little eddies and places where they can hide behind a boulder, a little bit of a point, stuff like that. On a natural lake, sometimes we're forced to fish on those windy days that are not as much fun. When you get on these big bodies of water, and the wind blows, it's going to make current that you might not see it necessarily, but it's going to push water through the neck down areas, in between islands, around points. And a lot of times, I always say on those really windy days, you know, fishing's going to be tougher for most anglers, but somebody always catches them because the wind sets them up somewhere, and usually that's because there's current there.
All right, let's wrap this video up with one final tip that'll definitely help you put a few more smallmouth bass in the boat this summer.
One thing to keep in mind when you're smallmouth fishing, and this is just about anywhere you go, they're really inquisitive and they love to follow. When you hook a fish, their buddies love to follow them. So anytime you're fishing with a friend, don't be afraid to throw in behind your buddy's fish if he's hooked up. And often the ones you get are bigger ones. The biggest fish in the group is following, and they'll sometimes get your bait. If you're, you know, as you're fighting it, the farther away from the boat that you can get your bait to them, the better the shot you have to catch them. Sometimes you don't see them until they're right here by the boat. I just, you know, usually drop my bait down, and if it's not super deep, let it go to the bottom, and they'll often follow it down and get it. But a little bit farther away from the boat, if they don't know the boat's there, you got a better shot at hooking up with them. But always keep your eyes peeled for the followers.
What's your favorite follow-up, or whatever you have in your hand?
As far as favorite follow-up baits go, I mean, something small that they can just, you know, if they see it, they can get in their mouth pretty quick. You know, growing up, fishing tournaments around home, you know, the smallmouth fishing's really good. Almost everyone you catch will have other fish following it, and we'd always keep, you know, like just almost like something white and bright that's going to get their attention pretty easy. But if you're fishing places where they see some baits, they get fished a little bit, you know, probably something green pumpkin, but something small that they can get in their mouth easy. If they grab it, they're going to get the hook, versus, you know, maybe something that's a little bit bigger where they could just grab the tail and you miss them.
Well, that's about all we got for you in this video. Special thanks to Gussy for sharing a bunch of really good information. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you learned something. And if you did, make sure to hit that little red subscribe button down below, because we have a lot more awesome content coming in the very near future. So until then, we will see you in the next one.